Now, there seems to be no end to China's economic woes. Latest data suggests that the country entered deflation in October. This is a worrying sign for policymakers as China struggles to stabilize growth through domestic demand. Consumer prices declined 0.2% last month, following 2 months of near zero inflation. Food, tobacco and alcohol prices too recorded their largest fall in October. Producer prices also extended their decline for the 13th consecutive month, dropping 2.6%. And during deflation, consumer prices dropped drastically. But it also means that consumers will not spend in anticipation of further drop in prices, and this may force companies to cut production, which would lead to low output and in turn less economic growth. Deflation is not good news for China's central bank, which hoped for a rebound in prices after a challenging summer. China's woes are rooted in both domestic and international factors. A housing slump weakened consumer confidence, and a significant drop in global commodity prices have distributed and contributed to China's economic struggle. And for more on this, we're now being joined by Andrew Freres, the CEO of Ecognosis Advisory Limited at Ecognosis Advisory Limited Brief, now live from Hong Kong. Thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast.
It's a pleasure.
Now, to begin with, what will be the impact of China's deflation on the global economy?
Zero. Actually, this obsession with China entering deflation, I'm afraid, is incredibly old news. The PPI index, the producer price index, has been falling, read my lips, for 13 months now. The CPI inflation has been from zero to minus for the last half a year. So now the October numbers really doesn't add anything at all to the overall impression of what's happening to the Chinese economy, which also the idea that somehow it is entering a deflationary spiral or it is doing incredibly poorly. Also, I'm afraid it flies in the face of the actual numbers. GDP growth in China for the fourth quarter was 4.9%. The IMF increased its expectations for GDP during the year 23 to about 5.4%. God, if an economy is growing at 5% and it has zero inflation, my God, the Americans must be looking at it with great degree of envy. I'm not here to proselytize or propagandize about the Chinese economy, but simply looking at the numbers, I think we've got a lot of other things to worry potentially about the Chinese economy rather than that it is entering a deflationary spiral. It isn't. It has been there for a long time and is very likely will continue to do so. And its GDP growth completely defies what is telling us.
Okay, so that being said, would you say that there aren't any steps that are required for the global economy as a whole to protect itself from China's weakening economy?
Why should we protect ourselves from falling prices in China when China is one of the major exporters and China very frequently is one of the major exporters to countries that will be importing goods from China at lower prices? You know, I thought that the two major economies, European Union and United States, are actually fighting to see inflation coming down. Why should we protect ourselves from cheaper Chinese goods? Absurd question.
All right. So that being said, from what I'm understanding, you're saying that there would be no fallout of this for the global economy.
Actually, it cannot be because we already know that for more than 1 year. And I haven't seen somebody saying, good God, we have to take some steps to protect ourselves from falling prices in China. In some cases, if inputs are competing with imports, with domestically produced goods in other places, then there will be an added pressure. And we know that the United States is in a kind of a tariff war with China. And if Trump was to be elected, this is not going to get any better. And falling prices in China is going to add on to that. But not every single economy in the world is looking to avoid importing from China. This is just not true.
Okay, Mr. Andrew Freres, thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast with your insights.